Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite team in the Bay Area. And on today's episode, we continue Hot Seat Week by looking at Noah Gregor, why this is a monster season for him, or if this is maybe just the beginning of the end for Noah Gregor. Plus, we get caught up on some news and notes with the San Jose Sharks as they make 2 signings as well. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, proudly a part of the Locked On Network, where we cover your team every day. You can make sure you follow along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch this on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite fast player, Noah Gregor, who tends to go burr a lot. We're going to talk about Gregor and kind of review his season and kind of what is next for Noah Gregor and why this is a massive off season and potential season for him, as he should start to feel a little bit uncomfortable about his position in the San Jose Sharks organization. Then we'll also catch up on some Sharks related news. You know, they made a couple signings, some fun stuff to kind of get caught up on. So we'll dive into those. But let us start with one Noah Gregor, who does tend to go burr, and why, kind of how his 2022-2023 season ended. So we bring in the slides if you're watching on YouTube. Noah Gregor played 57 games, had 10 goals, 7 assists, 119 shots on goal. Reminder, he did have a hat trick at the end of the season. He was basically at a goal per month until the last, 3 weeks of the season. So really kind of goose his goal numbers there at the end. So 119 shots on goal, average time on ice was 12:58, 43:05 Corsi for 43.86 goals for. So basically whenever he's on the ice, they scored 43.86% of the goals. He did set a career high in goals this season with the 10, beating his previous mark of 8 that he had last year. Last year he did have 23 points though in 63 games. But of course, with the abysmal 5.1 shooting percentage, this year was up to 8.4, which was what we saw in the 2020-2021 season. But did see his ice time go down, basically 2 minutes compared to what he was playing under Bob Boughner. So, Noah Gregor. Let's continue with his athletic card. So 32 percentile ice time, 36 percentile for goals, 19 percentile for assists, 24th percentile for points. Expected goals, 49 percentile. Of course, that's always with Noah Gregor, right? The expected, what you would expect compared to what you actually get. 20th percentile on the penalty differential. Usage, 72 percentile. There, is basically kind of with his salary as he enters he's now a RFA, excuse me. So he is he's a restricted free agent. The Sharks do own his rights. So if they want to bring him back, they will be able to bring him back. Qualifying offer for him is $997. So we'll just say $1 million. And that feels, if the Sharks do want to bring him back, it feels about right, is somewhere around that million, maybe 1.25 million. If the Sharks want to bring him back, they can. But pulling up his evolving hockey card, though, not super pretty, a lot of red here. So played basically second line minutes for the Sharks with the amount of ice time he got at 5-on-5. His going at 21 minutes on the power play, 11 minutes shorthanded. So really didn't see him kind of make that jump special teams wise that you would have hope, right? You kind of hope maybe he could evolve into a Matt Nieto 2.0 type of, using his speed. If you remember way back in the day, Matt Nieto in his first go around with the Sharks, kind of a lot like Noah Gregor, where he didn't really, wasn't very consistent, et cetera, et cetera. He goes to Colorado and really kind of is able to flush out his special teams game and makes him a much, much better kind of learns his role, right? Of being, if I want to play in the NHL, I need to be like, a killer on the shorthanded, work on that stuff, kind of, be a good third or fourth line player. And then when he came back, right, that's what he was. And then, so with Noah Gregor, though, this year he didn't really get the opportunity to do that. He got a little bit at the end, but again, right, he got more power play time than penalty kill time, especially for a guy. We know his shooting inconsistencies, but expected goals above replacement, he was actually positive there. But if you look at his even strength defense, negative, almost negative 6 in the expected goals above replacement. So he's just basically a sieve out there defensively at 5-1-5. His percentile rank, so he's at 6th percentile rank for a second line forward, 36th percentile rank for in the offense, and a 5 percentile rank in the defense. So you got to do something, right? You either got to, if you're going to be bad defensively, at least score goals a la Erik Karlsson. Or if you're not going to score goals, at least shut down the other team from doing so. And right now, Noah Gregor just isn't really that guy, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's Noah Gregor, right? Again, so Noah Gregor is going to be going in is RFA this year. He will be starting his age 25 season, which is kind of crazy. Noah Gregor's already going to be age 25 season. He's played 178 games in the NHL so far and has 26 goals and 25 assists. So he has 51 points in a little under 200 NHL games. One power play goal in his career, no shorthanded, and it's I think the big question, right, is what is Noah Gregor at this point, right? You kind of keep holding out hope that Noah Gregor can eventually turn into something, but what can Noah Gregor turn into, or is it time for the Sharks to maybe just look in a different direction? So that's what we're going to talk about next on our next segment, and kind of why Noah Gregor should feel worried, especially with the players that are coming. But before we do that, we do need to take a quick break, talk to you guys about our old friends over at Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious snack, but you don't want all the sugar and calories, then you guys need to try the best tasting protein bar ever with Built Bars. Great thing about them, each one is covered in 100% real chocolate. They have great flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream, and the analytics, the stats, right? 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, a whopping 17 grams of protein. That deliciousness per 60 off the charts, and is also healthy for you as well. So if you're like me, though, and you hate waiting for things to come in the mail, now you can swing over to Walmart or Sam's Club and grab yourself a box today. Walmart, they have a 4-bar box of the cookies and cream, double chocolate or coconut puff. Or Sam's Club, grab yourself a big old 13-bar box with hit flavors like brownie batter puff or churro puff. Or if you like to leave the house or you want a whole variety, head over to built.com. You can peruse their selection. I like the variety box. Has a little bit of everything in it. That way you can figure out which one you want. Some days you're feeling a little more double chocolate. Some days you're feeling cookies and cream, or you don't know which one's your favorite. So make sure you guys are checking out Built Bar at Sam's Club, Walmart, or built.com today. All right. So what do we do with Noah Gregor, right? Why should Noah Gregor feel uncomfortable? And I know Gregor had a strong second half to the season, but you can't just throw out the first 70 games of Noah Gregor scoring basically a goal a game for a goal a month for 70 games, type of situation. I know he didn't play all 70 games, but Noah Gregor should feel really uncomfortable about his situation with the Sharks, right? There was rumors, there was a report from Jason Gregor, who, if that last name sounds familiar, that's Noah's uncle, that Gregor did ask for a trade sometime during the season. It was pretty quiet, but Noah Gregor did ask for a trade. Then Gregor refuted it, that's fine. If he wants to do that, that is his deal. But I think he kind of knows, like, he's on thin ice with this front office, and look at who the Sharks have kind of brought in, or are, kind of other guys that they've acquired, or other guys who are coming, right? Like Steven Lorentz, who has I know Lorentz is a little bit older, but has the versatility of playing forward, can play center or wing, became a really, really good asset on the penalty kill, special teams, like that type of stuff, right? And he signed for another season, basically at $1 million. Okay. You just acquired Jacob Peterson in a trade, and also an RFA, but Peterson showed him, really, really well down the stretch here. Is also younger. Will be starting his age 24 season, so is also a year younger than him. But in 11 games for the Sharks, he had 8 points, 2 goals, 6 assists, and 8 points. And look like a better fit, right? Even with the Barracuda in 8 games, he had 6 points with the Barracuda this season. Look like a natural fit in this Sharks system, okay? RFA, Sharks own his rights. If Fabian Zetterlund can figure things out, right? And also a younger player. I know his time in San Jose wasn't really kind of the best, but there's a reason why the Sharks kind of made it a point to try to get him, right? Before the trade to San Jose, in 45 games with the Devils, he was at 20 points. And, I'm willing to give him a pass on the second half of the season, playing with way, way worse talent around him, and, just getting used to the system, et cetera, et cetera. But Fabian Zetterlund appears to be a kind of a long-term, part of the Sharks organization, right? He was a big piece in what they got back from Timo Meier. Plus, just look at the Barracuda. You have a ton of guys in the Barracuda who are going to start to kind of make their impact in San Jose with the mother club here soon, right? Of course, William Eklund, who you can kind of, I'm basically penciling him in as a opening night guy, unless his shoulder doesn't allow him to be ready for the opening of the season. But Thomas Bordeleau, of course, right? Martin Kaut, who I've again, limited time in San Jose, but you saw at least he could be offensively productive during that time, right? So, and I know counting stats aren't everything, but in 9 games of the Sharks, he had 3 goals, 2 assists, and 5 points. Okay. And then with the Barracuda, he had 14 points in 19 games there. So, Noah Gregor should feel super uncomfortable that somebody's going to be taking his job here soon and isn't going to be a long-term part of the organization. So, with Gregor, if you're the Sharks, do you try to maybe trade his rights a la, that doesn't even count Luke Kunin, who's coming back for an injury, right? So the Sharks have a lot of different people who are going to be coming, kind of coming for that job for his. So I know guys you lost some guys like Nick Bonino and a Long Beach native, Matt Nieto, but Gregor doesn't fill those same roles. I know Gregor has a lot of speed and stuff, but he just hasn't shown the consistency. And this is, basically 3 seasons of Noah Gregor. Again, 200 games played in the NHL, almost 200 games played in the NHL, right? The 2021, he played 30 out of 56, so half the season there. 21-22, he played 63 out of 82. And then under new regime here, he played 57 out of 82 games. So I think with Gregor, the Sharks are going to have to kind of make a decision if you want to try to go one more time with Gregor and see if he can figure out what type of player he is. Because again, he's not a defensive stalwart and he doesn't score a high enough rate to, I think, what does Noah Gregor do, right? And You're going to have so what should the Sharks do? They can either just cut him, we're not going to resign you, make you an unrestricted free agent. You'll go out there, you'll probably get like a vet min type of contract from a team. So there's always that. Maybe you could try to trade him, a la Luke Kunin, the Sharks did from Nashville last year. You're probably not getting more than a late round pick for Noah Gregor. I've made my point about Luke Kunin, but at least Luke Kunin can score. Like you've seen Luke Kunin score at a pretty solid clip and with a big enough, kind of sample size where it's not fluky, but right, like at least like Luke Kunin, you can point to him and be like, okay, right. So Luke Kunin in 282 NHL games, he has 51 goals and 55 points. So he's basically 40% point scorer, or a goal type of, or 0.4 goals or points per game type of player, right? Even last year in 31 games, he had 5 goals in those 31 games before he blew out his knee. And, if you like the feistiness, Luke Kunin at least brings that, right? And Luke Kunin scored, he was on his way to being to putting together a 4 straight double-digit goals for campaign. He had 5 in 31 games. I had no doubt, especially because he was kind of playing on that second line with Luke Couture. No doubt that Luke Kunin was going to hit double digits last season. So you could try to trade him, maybe get like a 6th-round pick back. You could let him go, or you can sign him to a 1-year deal basically and say, okay, this is it, your last shot. Basically this year is going to be a tryout for you. You have young players coming, and then you kind of play it by ear, right? Maybe at the trade deadline, you flip him. Maybe he scores some goals for you this season, and that shooting percentage actually goes up. He maybe finds some consistency. Maybe instead of scoring all of his goals at the end of the season, he scores some goals at the beginning of the season, and it kind of bumps up that trade value. And then you can trade him at the trade deadline and try to get an asset back for him. Because I honestly think this is going to be the last year we see Noah Gregor in a Sharks uniform, because somebody's going to take his job at some point here soon. So I would try to trade him. I would try to clear the path for one of these other guys. And I know Mike Greer is very much we don't give jobs out here, but Noah Gregor has had his opportunity over 2 coaching staffs and 2 different front offices. And I think at this point, we just know who Noah Gregor is. So a very streaky player who does some things, pretty streaky offensively, at least when it comes to point production. And maybe a fresh start might be the thing that he needs, where he goes to another system, et cetera, et cetera. But I would try to trade him, get whatever you can for him, and open that door for a, Luke Kunin or Jacob Peterson or Martin Kaut or whomever you want to kind of play there. Or you can just find a street free agent like Evgeny Svechnikov. You want to bring Svechnikov back for another year at, vet min, not have at it. That's perfect, type of situation. So you can just find other guys like Noah Gregor for a little bit cheaper. So that's what I would try to do. If not, just sign him I would sign him as cheap as you possibly can. And then just try as soon as his stock goes up a little bit, I would trade him as soon as possible and try to recoup a little bit of value there, because I just don't see Noah Gregor turning into, a 15 goal scorer or a stout penalty killer or, something you can hang your hat on with him. So, poor Noah Gregor. So before we finish up and start talking about some of the moves that the Sharks have had, we're going to talk about Filip Bystedt, just, kind of catch up on some odds and ends that I have not been able to as of recently. Do want to let you guys know about tomorrow's episode, a little tease for tomorrow. All of you guys want to be an everydayer, just make sure you guys are checking out Locked On Sharks wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about Mario Ferraro and why Mario Ferraro, even though he just signed a new contract last season, is on the hot seat. So make sure you guys are following along. wherever you get podcasts. Okay, so Sharks made a couple of moves. First move, we're gonna bring slides back. They officially signed defenseman Valtteri Pulli. This was kind of leaked a little back in March that the Sharks had signed him, but never it was actually officially announced. They announced it today, along with the signing of Georgi Romanov. So we'll just call him Georgi because he has the I at the end. But we'll start with Valtteri Pulli. He is, you're going to start to notice something about a lot of the Sharks defensemen as of recent with Mike Grier. He is 6'6", 209 pounds, and left-handed. I tweeted out a picture today of all the Sharks defensemen in the prospect pool. Kind of that, or at least are projected to be on the Barracuda. All left-handed with the exception of Gannon Larocque, our lone right-handed defenseman. And I don't even think Larocque is going to be on the Barracuda next year. I think he goes back to juniors one more year just because he missed this entire season. But Pulli played 53 games last year, had 3 goals, 14 assists, 110 shots on goal. Started the season on fire with scoring. I think he had 3 goals and 11 assists in the first half of the season, and slowed down at the end of the season. But Faber from Canucks Army did a nice little kind of profile on him recently, kind of had some clips and stuff about Pulli, and it was, kind of a bit toolsy, moves very, very well, very, very fluid in that department. But, you're going to see, moves very well for a guy who's 6'6", right? Now we're seeing Mike Grier really kind of lean in these big defensemen who can move, which makes you wonder if a guy like Simashev, who I just talked about, who's also a big defenseman, Russian defenseman, if that might be the way Mike Grier is kind of leaning. So he's going to be with the Barracuda. He signed a 2-year ELC deal. He's going to start the season with the Barracuda. I still think there's becoming a bit of a log jam, especially with the Sharks defense core. But Pulli, I would expect him to play. Well, he's played in men's professional hockey in the Liga and the TPS, with TPS in Finland. I would expect him to, kind of jump in there. Hopefully he can, man that power play, especially if Derek Pouliot is gone. I assume Luke Kunin's going to get the first shot at manning the power play. But that second power play is going to be up for grabs, and I could see a guy like Pulli kind of taking that opportunity. So, another player, Georgi Romanov, the undrafted free agent that the Sharks signed, also to a 2-year ELC deal. He played for Gornyak UGMK over in the VHL. If you don't know your Russian leagues, VHL is basically like their AHL or their Hockeyallsvenskan equivalent, right? The KHL is their NHL. The VHL is basically, like I said, their AHL equivalent. So, but Georgi Romanov, again, another big dude, 6'5", 207 pounds. Had a pretty decent season in the VHL. Played 31 games, had 281 goals against average, 907 save percentage. Did have a shutout as well. Got a tiny bit of KHL experience. He had one game where he basically came in for the shootout and stopped 3 out of the 4 shootout attempts. So, which they, unfortunately, I think they tied or lost. I'm not sure how they're anyway, but, he has gotten a tiny bit of KHL experience. Did pretty solid in the playoffs as well with 3 games played over there. 315 goals against average, but had a 918 save percentage and go 2-1. Mike Grier's little, quote, I'm sure you probably saw it if you read Shang or anybody else. Georgia's size, moves very well around the crease, and is athletic. We feel like he has a good package to be successful. I did not snicker to myself when I read that, but I totally did. So I think the big thing here is now you're starting to see a little bit crowded goalie pipeline for next season. So Aaron Dell is a UFA. I don't expect Aaron Dell to be back. You have Eetu Makiniemi and Strassman are both RFAs, and you wonder if one of those guys is not going to be back, right? And if I had to pick, I would probably go Strauss-Mann because Eetu Makiniemi, he got some NHL time last year, was part of the Brent Burns trade. So he was, part of Mike Greer went out and traded for him or got him in part of a trade package. You remember Strauss-Mann was signed before Mike Greer showed up. So, I assume it's probably going to be like Eetu Makiniemi. I would say Georgi, Romanov, and then Magnus Kroner are going to be kind of fighting out for that second spot, with whoever kind of loses the job probably starting the season in Wichita. So you just kind of the writing on the wall here is it looks like Strauss-Mann may not be back with the Sharks just because I still think they're going to go out and try to find an NHL caliber goalie who can either push or play with Kaapo Kähkönen. And I just don't think any of these guys are ready to step in the NHL right now. And especially with Eetu Makiniemi, who has not been able to finish the season healthy the last 2 seasons. I think you need to have a plan, a better plan for going from Eetu Makiniemi, again, who played pulling up right now. So he played 22 games for the Barracuda so he played 24 games in total for the Barracuda and the Sharks last year. And then he played 14 games the season before for the Chicago Wolves. I think you need to have a more solid plan than Eetu Makiniemi is going to be a 30 to 40 game starter in the NHL next year for a guy who's played two career NHL games and has not finished the season healthy the last 2 seasons. So, Georgi Romanov, though, I did get his from his Byron Bader from Hockey Prospecting. He's kind of, I think his after his draft year kind of really saw a much better kind of potential NHL player. But it's kind of fallen a little bit here recently, as I think that's just mainly with him getting older. But I kind of like this approach, right? With Mike Greer is continue to take swings until you find somebody. If you're a fan of football and if you don't have a quarterback, you just keep drafting ones in the hope that you can find one. So I'm wonder if the Sharks spend a high draft pick on a goalie to try to help solve this problem and continue to throw resources at it. We shall see. That's something I'm going to explore here soon. The thoughts of whoever they because there's no clear-cut goalie like we've had the past couple of years, like a Valstedt or, an Askarov or whoever. But do the Sharks kind of spend that second-round pick on a goalie? So plenty of time to look at that. Last thing, congratulations to Filip Bystedt, was named the SHL Rookie of the Year. That is now 3 years in a row where a Sharks drafted prospect has won the award. Filip Bystedt won it this year. Old friend Linus Karlsson won it last year. If you don't remember Linus Karlsson, he was drafted and then was traded. The Sharks traded him for Jonathan Dahlin. And then poor Dahlin. I still think he could play in the NHL, but oh well. William Eklund then won it in the 2020-21 season. So, yeah, can Leo Carlsson make it 4 for 4 for the Sharks? That's the hope. Anyway, so hope you enjoyed Noah Gregor talk, getting caught up on some of the news and notes. Be back tomorrow. Again, we're going to talk Mario Ferraro. And I don't know if you guys are ready for Mario Ferraro, but we're going to get through it together. So make sure you guys are following along on the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryhole. Make sure you guys are checking out the other amazing Locked On shows. Of course, you got Locked On Warriors right now. You got Locked On Niners with the draft coverage, Locked On Giants, starting to kind of figure things out. Locked On Aids, who I'm sure are, definitely not talking about the move to Las Vegas. So plenty of amazing stuff happening in the Bay Area right now. And make sure you guys are following Locked On Sharks wherever you listen to podcasts, and of course on YouTube. Thank you guys to the everydayers. Come continually check it out. Check me out. And if you want to be an everydayer, just come back tomorrow. So until then, bye, friends.